When we lean our body to the outside of the turn like this, it is called counterbalancing. Should we do it, or is it wrong? That's a surprisingly controversial topic. Some riders say you should never lean outward like this under any circumstances, because it greatly destabilizes the bike. Others swear that counterbalancing is the most important technique for tight maneuvers and U-turns and absolutely must be used. So, who's right? Today we are going to break down this counterbalancing technique and test it, to see if leaning the wrong way really helps, and if it does, by how much. Before we jump in case you are new to this channel, my name is Andrei Bodrov. After this video, I will become your new favorite motorcycle instructor here on YouTube. That, if you can endure my accent, of course. I also make online courses that help riders build real skill and confidence on the bike. Our flagship training program, King of the Road, includes over 40 practical exercises designed to make you a safer and more confident rider in just 9 weeks, by improving a whole bunch of important riding techniques, including counterbalancing, by the way. So, what's this counterbalancing is all about? Basically, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, counterbalancing is simply putting the weight of your body closer to the outside of the turn. A lot of people think that this is to prevent the bike from dropping down, that by leaning our body outward, we also pulling the bike outward as well, and it doesn't fall down. That's not entirely correct though. If we look at our bike from the front, we can clearly see that despite counterbalancing, our body is still located inside the turn relative to our tires. So despite our best effort, the mass of our body still pushes the bike down. In order for the bike not to fall, it still needs to be moving, it has to have some speed. If I suddenly stop in the middle of this circle, for example, the bike will definitely fall down, no matter if I am counterbalancing or not. To actually balance the bike, we still have to adjust its speed and lean angle to the desired turning radius. At faster speed we can control it with the throttle, and at slower speeds we mainly do that with the throttle and the clutch, using the friction zone technique. As we can clearly see here, it is absolutely possible to balance the bike with the clutch and throttle, no matter where our body is leaning. We can lean to the outside like this, remain neutral on the bike, or even lean inside the turn. And as you can see, it doesn't really matter much. The bike doesn't fall down in any case. What really matters here is how fast the bike is going, how large a turning radius it is making right now, and how much it is leaning. Or, to be more specific, how much the combined mass of the rider and the bike is leaning. For any given turning radius, the faster we go, the more the bike has to lean. And this is where counterbalancing comes into play. Let's say we are going through a turn. If we stay perfectly neutral on the bike, it will have a certain lean angle. Now, if we go through the same turn at the same speed but lean our body outward like this, the combined center of mass stays the same as before. But because we moved our body weight to the outside, the bike itself now leans more. Normally, we don't really want that, because this way we have less ground clearance and more chances to scrape something like a muffler or a foot peg on the asphalt. However, there are a few reasons why counterbalancing can still be useful. The first reason doesn't even have to do anything with balance and stability of the bike. We can use counterbalancing in a blind turn simply to see better what's behind it. And since in a blind turn we are usually going slower, that little bit of extra lean angle and reduced ground clearance doesn't matter much. Another reason to use counterbalancing is when we want to flip the bike from side to side really quickly. Like when dodging a pothole, or at the end of the brake and swerve maneuver, for example, like we practiced in one of our recent videos. By keeping our body more upright, we exclude its mass from that side-to-side movement. That means only the bike itself is moving, and because of that it flicks faster and with less effort. That's another case where counterbalancing can be helpful. And one more case where counterbalancing is used quite often is during slow speed riding, when we want to achieve tighter turning radiuses. Let's see how that works. Let's say we want to make a really tight U-turn. First, naturally, we can turn the handlebars all the way and make a U-turn like that. However, if at the same time we also lean the bike, the U-turn becomes tighter. We already know that to lean the bike more, we can simply go faster. But we can only go up to a certain speed. Above that, the tires start to slide and the bike will fall down. Alternatively, we can use counterbalancing. By leaning our body outward, we increase the lean angle of the bike without having to go any faster. And indeed, if we try several U-turns with different body position, we will see that difference. On almost vertical bike, I can comfortably turn in 18 feet. If I make the U-turn like a normal person, I fit into 16 feet. If I add some counterbalancing, I make a 15 feet wide U-turn, and if I use a lot of counterbalancing, I will fit in 14 feet U-turn. So there is clearly some difference here. Counterbalancing can help tighten our turning radiuses. However, there is an important pitfall that many new riders fall into when they are learning how to use this technique. And this mistake even gets repeated by some people here on YouTube. What new riders often do is learn counterbalancing and then start using it absolutely everywhere, whether they need it or not. They basically think that any slow speed turn automatically means counterbalancing, which isn't true. To really benefit from counterbalancing, first, we should be able to fully use our steering from lock to lock. For example, here I can use extreme counterbalancing, but as long as I don't turn my handlebars much, I still end up with pretty wide circles. On the other hand, as soon as I turn the handlebars all the way, my circles immediately become tighter, even if my upper body stays neutral. So, basically, only when I'm already at full lock can I start tightening the circle even more by applying counterbalancing. Considering all this, there are a couple of tips about counterbalancing. First of all, learn it only after you're already comfortable riding at full lock. Before that, there's just not much point. And second, don't use it mindlessly all the time. Be able to use it or not to use it, depending on what you need in a specific situation. Now that we know how all this works in theory, let's have a little test to see how much we can actually reduce the turning radius of the bike by applying counterbalancing. We'll do circles. They are a bit trickier than simple U-turns because we have to consider the whole turning circle, not just its width. But since we are measuring turning radius, it makes sense to use circle for it. Before we do it, however, I want to take a quick moment to thank our today's sponsor, Ultramax Cell, the brand behind the high-tech base layers you've probably seen me wearing in many of my videos. What makes Ultramax Cell stand out is their unique material, a special polypropylene fiber with a three-dimensional honeycomb structure. It creates some compression effect for it to keep a perfect fit and help your body stay comfortable in both hot and cold weather. In the heat, it evacuates moisture away from your body, boosts evaporative cooling and keeps you dry, provided you wear ventilated gear on top. And in the cold, that same honeycomb structure traps more warm air and insulates you better than regular thermal layers. Ultramax Cell really is a step up compared to normal base layers. So if you want to treat yourself, you can find a link to their store in the description to this video. Alright, let's get back to the video and see what those turning circles look like with and without counterbalancing. First, as a baseline, let's do a circle with the bike kept vertical. To stay this upright, I have to creep really slowly, so let's speed this up with the magic of a video editing. Riding like this, I can comfortably fit into an 18-foot wide circle. Next, Let's try neutral body position, with a bit more speed. This way, the bike leans more, and I can fit pretty nicely into a 16-foot wide circle. Now, I'll try add counterbalancing. To make any substantial difference in turning circle, I have to use rather extreme counterbalancing, trying to hang my body outwards quite a lot. This allows me to fit into a 15-foot diameter circle. Great success! So, let's compare the results. While counterbalancing definitely helps to tighten the turning radius, I wouldn't call the difference huge. It's not like by using counterbalancing we suddenly make the circle twice as small. If we compare them directly, a normal U-turn might be a foot or two wider than a counterbalancing one. That's around a 10 to 15% difference, which will be different from bike to bike. So yes, counterbalancing has its advantages, but it is not a magic solution or one technique you must rely on to master the slow speed riding. All those advanced techniques usually work best when they are combined. If you can use counterbalancing and you are also comfortable with full lock turns, and you are proficient with your clutch, throttle and rear brake, also if you're using your vision correctly and maintaining proper riding posture, then you'll have a massive advantage over someone who can't do all those things. You'll clearly be a much better and more confident rider. And the difference simply between someone who uses counterbalancing and some who doesn't won't be that huge on its own. The bottom line here is simple. Counterbalancing is a good, useful technique. Very much worth learning. But we shouldn't treat it like some kind of holy grail, panacea thing. Now that we've discussed counterbalancing, which is leaning our body outside the turn, you might rightfully ask what would happen if we lean our body inside the turn instead. Luckily, we already have a video about it. It should appear somewhere here right now. Check it out if you are interested. Thank you for watching, ride safely and have a wonderful day. Bye!